Hey guys, it's Tony with Backwoods Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. Many emails have came in the last couple of months, especially here in the last few weeks, about my suggestion for large knives for the hunting season. Something that's longer than 4 inches. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hang tight, be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. Well, as you know, I am not a large knife guy when I am here. I live in the eastern woodlands, and a knife like this, LT Wright Genesis Scandi, is perfect for me. I love this knife. This is our first offering that was introduced to us from LT Wright. Probably 7-8 years ago, and it was the knife of the year. There was a reason for that. It's a great knife, a great build, great products. Materials are impeccable, and the artisans that he has working for him, they're just top shelf. And everything he does, as you'll see, you're going to see a couple more from him. But yeah, this is my go-to style. It's built on the Kephart platform, and I just brought it out here to be able to show you what I usually use, but what I would sometimes take out with me when I am going to be out on a long hunt. The blade on this guy here is right at 4 inches long. Overall the knife is 9 inches, so 4-inch blade would give you a 5-inch handle, but I wanted to kind of show you that just to show the difference. Okay, so let's talk about these larger knives that I would suggest for hunting, survival during this time of the year when you're going to be out there. Here in this area, people are jacked up about deer hunting, and a lot of deer are going to be taken. Okay, so I'm going to start from the more budget style knives and go up to the more premium style knives. Not that what you pay for a knife is going to make it that much better. I was just explaining to Mo the other day that $1,000 knife isn't 10 times better than a $100 knife. It can be, but most of the time it's not. There's reasons why those knives, they're custom made, maybe the name of the builder, etc. But I'm going to start out with the budget style knife, and I've had this in my collection for probably 4 or 5 years. And this was the production knife of the year. It comes from Condor. It's not custom made. It comes from Condor, and it was just called the Primitive Knife, and it was designed by Matt Graham, the primitive specialist. He's a great survivalist. Primitive skills are off the chart. But this is, it's just a rugged looking knife, and that's one of the reasons why I've kept it. But it run around $75 at the time, but the blade on this is 6 inches long, right at 6 inches. And the girth on it from cutting edge all the way back to the spine is about 1.5 inches, somewhere around there. So it is a little bit bigger knife, and there wasn't anything that I couldn't do with this. I did not process a deer with it, but I did process some squirrels and some rabbits and some doves, and it worked well doing those smaller games, but it'll also do good for large game. Doesn't matter what you're taking down with it. But yeah, that comes from Condor, and that's about $75 to $80 if you can still get it. The other one that I wanted to show you, it's on the budget side, would be this from Lord & Field, Battle Box's Lord & Field. And this is called the Ogeechee, I think. Ruckin River from Battle Box. That's their sister company. This is a stainless steel, boutique stainless steel this is made out of. This is actually 5 1/4 inches, so it's a little bit smaller than the other knife I showed you. but I think that the price tag on this guy's around $80 to $85. It's a full tang knife, nice big lanyard hole there. It's got micarta scales on it and the chole on it. Everything about it is a great knife. It's got a 90-degree spine right here to be able to do whatever you need to do. So that works out pretty good. The sheath is okay. It's not my favorite sheath, but again, I've told you before, never buy a knife because the sheath is cool. All right, you buy a knife because of the blade itself, and then you get your sheath around it. So that's 3 of them. Then the next one, we're going to move into the more kind of premium side, and it would be this guy here. And this comes from SE. I was talking to Shane from SE several years ago about doing some bigger knives. He goes, hey man, how about the SE6? I said, okay. And when I saw the knife, when it was delivered here, I was very, very impressed with it. And this is one of those knives that's kind of like a hybrid knife. Not only is it a survival, hunting, outdoorsy knife, but this could very well be a tactical knife as well. And we're going to talk about some tactical knives because you asked. But this one here is actually, see here, this one is about almost 6.5-inch blade, you know, so it's a pretty stout blade. Has G10 scales, they're sculpted scales, 3D is what they call that. I don't remember the name of the finish on the knife. But one of the things that we did in order to be able to strike a ferro rod quickly is we took a file and we filed off that coating so it would work well for us with a ferro rod. But man, this is a great knife. Balance, it's not real heavy. And you know, the thing about SE is that they're guaranteed for life. They don't play around. Again there, that is a 6.5-inch knife. So now let's look at bumping it up now a little bit. That would be this knife here, okay? And again, you know, I'm not real jacked about this sheath, never have been. But the knife itself is from Winkler Knives. Daniel Winkler is one of our American top shelf knife builders that we have. He's one of the top builders in the world. He got his start by doing reenactment type of blades, period style knives. And what put him on the map is that he landed the position of creating the blades for Last of the Mohicans, all those tomahawks. And I don't know if he did knives or not, but I know he did the hawks for him. And then the rest is history. And the military world became knowledgeable of him, and now the majority of his offerings are made for the military. You know, a lot of operators. This, as a matter of fact, this particular knife right here, this is called the field knife. It was made for, or designed by a former operator and made by Daniel Winkler. Maybe Daniel just decided to design it for him. I don't know the whole story. I don't remember. It's in an article though. But this is one of my favorite knives I have in my collection. But I have not used it a lot because of the fact that I'm not digging the sheath that it's in. But again, that's my fault. I should have went and had another sheath made for it. But you talk about a dynamite knife. These are walnut sculpted scales. Just, it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. And now that I'm talking about this, I'm probably going to reach out to JRE Industries here in Illinois that makes some of the most dandiest sheaths on the planet, you know. So I want to start carrying this guy because I do love this knife. Man, is it great for anything outdoors that you might need to do. And again, it could easily be a tactical knife as well. It was, I think the guy's name was Rat. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, the blade size on this guy right here is 5 3/4. Overall length on this is 10 1/4. You know, so that's one of my favorite knives I have in my collection that I don't even use anymore. All right, then let's move up to the next one there. All right, so the next one now is going to be from LT Wright, another LT Wright version, but this is a much larger knife than the Genesis Scandi, and this is the Illuminus 5. The blade length on this guy is 5.5 inches. It's much stouter than the Genesis Scandi. And this was also the knife of the year that we were introduced to this. This is just a great blade all around. As I said, you can never be critical of LT Wright's approach, whether it's materials, the build crew that he has, the master craftsmen. They put out some of the best knives on the planet, period. And you could just leave it at that. His sheaths all come from JRE Industries. Very, very nice sheaths, but we're talking about blades today. And this is one of my favorite larger blades. Again, you know, it's 5.5 inches long, and it can do anything that I would need it to do in regards to a knife. The price on this guy is about, I'm guessing, probably $260, somewhere around there. And the price on that SC that I just showed you, that's about $175, somewhere around there. You know what I'm going to show you now is that people will say that's not a knife. Some people say it is a knife. Some people say it's not a knife. But this comes from Todd Hunt from TM Hunt Custom Knives. And you know, it is bigger than a 5-inch blade. This thing here is actually 10 inches long. And this is the M18. I've had people say that's not a knife, it's an axe. No, it's not. And they've said it's a bush tool. Okay, yes, I agree with you that it is a tool, but it is a multi-purpose tool that you could do just about anything that you want with this. Obviously, chopping. You know, if you're doing shelters, if you're building traps, this blade can do it all. And if you've never seen it before, go out onto his website. It explains that. Where we were introduced to this particular blade was on Naked and Afraid. I had a friend call me up and said, hey, you need to look at Naked and Afraid and look at that thing called the M18 that some guy named Hunt made out of Seymour, Indiana. That was my introduction to Todd Hunt. And over the years, we've become friends, and I am very confident in everything he makes. You know, I wanted to have one of his other knives out here called the Yuma that I have in my possession, but it's not that big compared to these other knives. But I just wanted to show you, man, the quality and impeccable materials that he uses. He has metallurgy down to an absolute science when it comes to building knives. He's got a knife called the Trade Water that I would encourage you to get out to his website and take a look at. Very, 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 very nice knife that would be in that larger than 5-inch category. So I'm going to just put this back away here. The M18 is actually named after the Claymore mine that we, if you're my age, you remember those in the military. So yeah, very, very nice. Everything he does is nice. We've seen a few of his knives. And now he's got an M14. It's a smaller version of this. Okay, so now in this category, this is the last one. And this is the newest knife I'm adding to my collection. I will not be getting rid of this knife either. But Craig Caudill of Natural Reliance School down in Winchester, Kentucky. He is a historian. He's an expert historian. He knows the history of Kentucky, of the frontiersmen, and he has always been endeared to Daniel Boone and the equipment that those frontiersmen would use. And one of those pieces of equipment was a knife that was called the long knife. And the name for this knife is the Chamonix. You get these from Craig Caudill's Natural Reliance School on his website. But the interesting twist to this is that Craig was smart. He's not a knife builder, but he designed this knife based upon the platforms of the frontier knives that were carried by those men. And he approached LT Wright. And LT makes these knives for Craig Caudill. And again, anything that LT does is awesome. Craig, you've done a great job with this knife. I haven't even formed the sheath of it yet. It's only been out of the sheath probably 3 or 4 times. But this knife happens to be, show you the big difference here, you know. This knife is 7 inches long. The blade is 7 inches long, and from spine to cutting edge is about 1 3/8 inches, somewhere around there. Has micarta scales. It's just beautiful. That's all there is to it. And this knife will run you around $380. It's a little pricey, but it's an heirloom knife. You'll pass this down to your children, to the grandchildren, to the great-grandchildren, you know, and it's a great offering. I will be fixing this up to where I can carry it. I just haven't figured out if I'm going to use the dangler, if I'm going to use a cross draw, because it's so long, and you know, my height, you know, I'm under 5'9", and so that makes a big difference on how you carry a knife. So that's it for those kind of knives. And we'll be doing a full video on this and a full article on this knife as well, because it deserves it. You need to see more about this knife. Now, we're going to go on to the next segment, which is those of you that ask me about tactical knives and tactical builders. You know, I've showed you this particular knife from Essie. This is a great budget-friendly tactical style knife that would do anything that you need it to do, whether it's breaching, building man traps, building sniper lays. This knife would do that for you. Also, this one from Daniel Winkler. To me, it just screams tactical. It might have some limitations to it from a tactical point. I mean, there's no pommel on the bottom of it, you know, and you could easily beat up the walnut scales. You would crush those scales at some point beating on it. But other than that, yes, that would be a tactical knife. But I have a couple here that I wanted to show you by two different builders. This one is from Ultimate Survival Tips. His name is David Pilzinski. David designed this many years ago. That's called the MSK1. And we have probably 5 different versions or iterations of this knife. Multi-scenario knife is what the MSK stands for. And in the beginning, these were made out of D2 steel. Had a lot of criticisms because of that. He heard the criticisms, and these are now made out of 154 CM. This particular version here is called the MSK1 Warrior Elite. And I mean, just looking at it, you can see that there's not too much that you won't be able to do with this knife unless it's a tiny task. There's an answer for that as well. But micarta scales, the blade on this guy is, let me tell you again, we're moving into the 5.5, 5 5/8, something like that. Full 1/4 inch, full tang blade, you know, and it's razor sharp, choles in the right spot, the jimping's in the right spot. It just screams tactical, you know, and you got a ferro rod striker down here on the bottom, nice lanyard hole. What is peculiar about this knife is that it does have a skeletalized tang. And in that belly is a full survival kit. You've heard me say before, many survival kits give you many chance of survival. This one is very practical. Some neat stuff in there. I think there's over 22 items. There's 22 items in there, and they actually work. We've used them, and they are as advertised. This particular blade comes with a Kydex sheath, and the way that we have set this up is not only do we use the Kydex sheath, but we use the sidekick knife. This is for smaller tasks. This is the MSK1 Mini. Same thing here, same steel, same design. It's just the Mini that you would use to do smaller tasks, and of course it does have a ferro rod on it. This particular knife is going to run you around $400. Yeah, you can get it for $400. Maybe sometimes throughout the year you can get it for something less. So that would be a tactical knife. Now I want to show you something else by this guy. I had forgot about this, but I would not carry this myself because of the weight. It's heavy. But one of his latest versions is this guy right here. This is called the Pack 1. And it is also made out of 154 cm steel, but you can see the difference, right? It's much lighter. It's got a great pommel on it. I know I have this lanyard on there. It's because it's on this bag, but everything about that knife in the MSK1 you're finding here, it's just a different design. And to me, this would be perfect as a tactical style knife. This one I would carry from Pozinski. It's just a great design. And I think this is made here in the USA, and I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I think Tops Knives actually does this for him. But this is a knife that I've got set up to carry on my Hill People Gear SAR bag. All right, so now that leads me to the last knife or last builder, and this is from Grayman Knives, and we're talking tactical, right? And when you see this, you'll understand, while I feel like he is one of the top tactical builders in the world and has been for the past 8 to 10 years that I met him. Mike is a former operator that operated out of the Sudan. He was there for quite a while. And when you see this knife, I mean, you can tell that this is made for one reason and one reason only. It's not for apples, oranges, and skinning deer. This is for disposing of an enemy. And it's very, very nasty, man. This thing is mean. And one of the peculiar things about his knives is that he uses a chisel grind, single bevel chisel grind. And the reason he does that is because, again, he's been out there. He knows what it takes not only to have the right features in a knife, but the ability to maintain the knife out in the field. With this, you can do it with a stone, you can do it with a rock out of the stream, you can do it with the bottom of a coffee cup or the bottom of a toilet lid. That's how easy it is to sharpen this knife. But what makes this so nasty is that because of the blade shape, the size, when you put this into a body and draw it out, it causes extreme hypovolemic shock right away. I mean, a guy's going to bleed out quick. If you take the rear approach on an enemy, you can see how you could dispose of him very, very quickly. So, yeah, this is a tactical knife, and Mike is one of those builders that, again, he's been there. Everything that you see about his knives tells you that he has been there. The other knife that I wanted to show you from Mike is this one here. This is called the, the Warrior, West Nile Warrior. That's what it's called. And both of these knives are made out of 1095 steel. We have not had this out in the bush a lot. I spent maybe 2 weekends with this. Again, it's just one of those blades that is bigger than what I want to carry. And it's not made for bush type of living. That's an 8-inch blade right there. You know, so if you're talking about wanting a longer tactical style blade, there you go. This is the sheath, you know, and again, I'm not digging this sheath. That is a huge piece of equipment that you're carrying right there. I think that you could get a leather one made very, very quickly. That would better fit that, and I would wear this on my pack strap. I wouldn't wear it on my side. Yeah, so there you go, some large knives. And for those of you that were wanting to know of a tactical builder, you got some right here. SE is one. Daniel Winkler is another one. Go out to his website. He's got some good stuff. David Pozinski's got some great knives. And, of course, Mike from Grayman Knives. Get out there. All those websites will be up there for you. So thanks for the question. Appreciate you asking. So until next time, you guys ride free, you live free, and always be safe out there, especially when you're carrying knives.